Oh, Annie. And how fast has it gone?
I can't believe it. You and I, when we get together, we can talk forever and a day. Because we love all these
This
tools.
stuff. Yeah,
this stuff.
This stuff.
This stuff.
Love this stuff. And you never stop learning, do you? You continually learn. And, you know, the conversations that I have, I learn about people, but I also learn about who I am.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting because it's really taught me to listen to what's being said and to have an understanding of the words and really being conscious of the words that are being used and how they're said. And I really, since I've been doing this show, there's words that I used to say that I don't say anymore, or they might come up every now and then. But it makes you aware, and particularly when you're editing things, and you're going, if I have to edit one of more of those words out, I'm going to scream, you know, that sort of stuff. But learning about people it's a passion of mine. Learning about their magic and their brilliance and getting them to see their magic and brilliance is what I love. And what you do is you bring out that awareness, you bring out that purpose and that passion. You get them to understand their values. You get them to understand what their true goals are. Because once you understand your values, your goals may change, or they may just turn a little bit, or whatever, or they may stay the same, depending on whether the values are congruent with that particular person. But creating that awareness is a really important part of what you do for people, so that they can step from where they're stuck into the place where they truly want to be. And you give them a gift. You give them a gift of hope. You give them a gift of awareness. And you give them a gift of being present with themselves to start understanding who they are and what they can actually do.
That's about right.
Yeah, well, that's what you do. And there's so much more to it, but that's an overview of what you do when you work with people. And I think anyone that works with Annie will step forward in their life. So if you want to connect with Annie, you can just connect with me and I'll put you on to her. So that's all right. Send me an email at studio@southernfm.com.au and they'll forward it on to me. And it's Faye. Just call me Faye and they'll pass it on to me and I'll pass it on to Annie. So Annie, what is it that you want to talk about for this last segment? What is something that we haven't spoken about? Because we've talked about lots of things.
I really don't have anything in mind. I mean, I always trust that the conversation goes where it needs to.
Go with your gut. Go with the flow.
You know, like I want to come back to something you said before about asking for help.
Oh, yes. We didn't get to that, did we?
Didn't. But I'm very good at circling back. A lot of people out there are very embarrassed to ask for help. And I think that's part of upbringing. I mean, I was the same too.
Me too.
And people are afraid that if they ask for help, then they are perceived as not clever enough or strong enough.
There's
or
a
whatever.
Weakness.
There's something, right?
Yeah.
And the reality is that we cannot do everything.
No, we can't.
We just cannot. And we don't know everything. Like, we're not born with knowledge. Like, I don't know how to do heart surgery. Now, I can go and learn it. But,
do you want to?
Well, actually, I wanted to be a surgeon. So when I was in Romania, well, originally I wanted to be a ballet dancer. That kind of didn't work out. But then I wanted to be a surgeon because, like, my mum died. So I wanted to become a doctor to save other mummies, so other children are not going to be without their mum.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to, in my country, we had special high schools, and so I did science, biology and chemistry, and, I actually assisted in an autopsy. So, and
that would have been fun.
It was.
Oh.
It was.
Oh.
I loved it.
I would have liked it too.
I took out the brain and I took the intestines and walked with it to see how long it is, and all these other kids were fainting around, and I loved it. Well, here's something that you might not know about me. Is one of the my favorite things to do is to actually watch surgeries on YouTube.
Do you know what? That is amazing. I think if I had nothing else to do, I'd study the human body, because it's the most fascinating machine. We only do things with it when something goes wrong with it, instead of prevention is better than cure. And what we do with who we are, we spend our time worrying about this, that, and everything else, and that worry creates dis-ease, which eventually creates disease. And then we can ask ourselves, well, why? Why? But you won't get that answer until you understand who you are, and all those little stories in your head that you've been telling yourself all the time that are bringing you to this place where you are.
Well, don't wait until it's broken. So
that's
I think,
right.
And again, like you have a look at, we get a car and we get it serviced at 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 cases if you buy a brand new car and so forth, right? And then we fix things around the house all the time and all of that. I mentioned this like in the last hour. But we don't do that to ourselves. We don't go to the doctor when it's bad. It's like, she'll be right. No, you gotta sort of, if it, pain is inevitable. So if you break a leg, the pain is inevitable. But if you don't go to the doctor to fix it, because I can fix it. Not that a lot of people do that, right? But there are some stubborn people out there. Suffering is optional.
Yeah, that's true.
So why sit and suffer
when you don't have to?
About something that's going on in your life, and a lot of people, and especially now in the last couple of years, we've had a lot of challenges in the world, and it has affected many people. And I just think it's important to realize that you've been affected. I've been affected. Now,
we all have.
I've been doing personal development for 14 years, and I thought I can cope. No, because there were situations that I didn't expect.
Oh, so many of them.
That's right. So, but I was lucky that I have a good group of friends, and most of my friends are coaches. So we speak sort of similar language, and also I had my coaches that I invest with.
Yeah.
And go through very serious and deep processes to see what's coming up. I mean, it doesn't matter what happens in the world or around me. There's something that is being triggered, and it comes from my past, whether it's a childhood or teenager or 20s or 30s or 40s. Each part of me is a younger version of me. Like yesterday, that's a younger version of me. So I owe it to myself, and everybody owes it to themselves, to be the best version of themselves, and to learn and to and to grow, because it brings you so much freedom, inner emotional freedom. It's so good to not hurt, to not have that knot in your stomach, to and to generally smile wholeheartedly. Your eyes sparkle, your smile sparkles, and you're happy, and there's no regrets, because at the end of the day, dying is it's a given.
Well, it is. It's like birth.
Taxes and dying. That's a given, yeah. Right? But when you're there, if you reach that moment, do you want to know that you lived your life
to the fullest, or with regret,
the fullest, or at peace? What's really interesting, talking about peace, and I still didn't talk about asking for help. And
we kind of got sidetracked.
I've spoken to, I used to speak to a lot of people, and men, actually it's been men, that I would ask them, so what is it that you want in your relationship? I want peace and harmony. And I'd go, yeah, that's great, we want it too. No, you don't. And I go, yeah, I do. You know, don't tell me that I don't want it, right? And they go, yeah, but you girls are always like, nya, 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 nya. And I was like, well, we keep asking for something. I said, so maybe if you listen with the intent to understand, so not, well, I hear it. We hear things. We hear the night because there's a silence and it's got a sound, right? Right? But listening with the intent to understand. So I said, if you just stop and sit back and actually listen to what the other person, your kids, your wife, your parents, whoever are trying to say to you. But and this is not just for the guys, but it's more men that have heard that said to me, I want peace and harmony. And then the women say, I want connection and I want communication. And then I would say to them, well, how do you communicate? And then I see them in the session and I just go, well, if you communicate like this, he's not getting his peace and harmony and he's going to be coming back at you. So the communication needs to shift. So I help couples with that, you know, how to communicate with each other. And they start, you know, and I mean, they work with me for about close to 6 months, you know, between 5 and 6 months. So then, you know.
See, the realizations come out of what's actually happening. And so that then when they realize that and there's an awareness there, they can start to change it.
Well, they do. And change, if you wait for the other person to change, well, why? How about you? Right? Don't wait for somebody else to change. You got to look at, change starts with you. So, because, and I know this because I lost my marriage, right? And then I started to learn these things and I go, wow. And all these memories come back, situations that we had. So we've been separated for 8 years and we get along very, very well. And I'm extremely proud of us as two human beings that get along well. Like we had coffee the other day. But I know for the last 8 years, every time I discovered something, I go back and I go, listen, do you remember that time? He goes, yeah. And I go, I'm really sorry. I said, you were right. He's like, what do you want me to do with that now? I said, what I want you to know is that I owning it now and that you were right. So don't doubt yourself because, you know, you started doubting yourself. I started doubting myself, you know. So I can't, you know, own what you're going to do with it. That's yours. What I'm doing is I'm apologizing, right? Because you were right. And I made you wrong back then. And I want you to know that you were right. Right? And I can tell you, the more I owned my stuff, the more he opened up and he became more trusting, you know. And it's great because we both want to co-parent well.
Yes, and that's the most important thing, to co-parent well. A lot of parents don't co-parent well.
Well, they don't because they hurt. So, and I think, and I've actually worked with a couple who wanted to separate amicably, and they did. And, you know, when they first separated, it was a bit antsy, you know, because it hurts. Because, like, what did I do wrong? It wasn't me, because, you know, it was the other person, da-da-da-da-da-da. But now it's over, you know, the divorce is done and all of that, it's done. The settlement is done. And now they're focusing on the kids. And I forever look on you know, social media, and they do outings and this and that, but they're living their life. And now, and I'm connected to a lot of my former clients because I love them all, and I have great relationships with them, and I check in with them, and they just go, best thing we ever did.
Yeah,
you know. So they understood what happened when they got together and what happened during their marriage. And that's the whole thing. When you understand that, you can make your next step. But if you don't understand, so it's interesting that about understanding, because I'll be working with couples, and now looks like I'm changing direction because I started to speak with other coaches, new coaches who are starting to build their coaching business, and they need some help.
Yeah.
So the method that I created a methodology. It's called the reality bridging methodology. So it's bridging the gap between knowledge and application in real life. And a lot of people know a lot of stuff, but they don't know how to use it in real life.
Yeah.
So I help them by understanding their behavior, their habits, their values, their goals, being present, their rituals, their everyday rituals. And it looks like I'm shifting now direction, because I'm going into this, like, being a coaching catalyst, where I'm helping other coaches set up their coaching processes and systems, so they can then coach. When they coach from a place of certainty within themselves.
Yes.
And I think as a coach, it's very important to be certain and not sit there going, am I asking the right question? There's no such thing. But I used to do that. So now I just sit there and I'm 100% present to them, because the clients, they all say one or two words that I go, tell me about that. Just like we did today. I was picking out words. You were saying things and I'm going, ooh, we can talk about that, because that's interesting. Ooh, So, and I still haven't talked about help.
And you know what? We're not going to have...
Not today.
We're not going to have time.
That's another conversation.
It is, and it's really interesting. It's been absolutely fantastic, because we've only got a minute or so left of the show. But it's been absolutely fantastic to have this conversation and to revisiting for me is a good thing as well, because it brings back that awareness. You go on in life and you do and you be the bee and all the rest of it. But sometimes you just forget.
Of course you do. I do.
And you think you need a gentle reminder. And that's why they say you need to hang around with 5 people that will inspire you and support you and do all that sort of stuff. And, like Bridget said to you, stop. How long have you been trying to tell me that? Oh, for ages. But she finally got the opportunity.
She was waiting for the right moment.
Yes.
And that was the right moment, and it was great.
Yeah.
And you need friends like that who will tell you, but not attack you, but actually tell you, because there's different ways that you can actually put a message forward, where the whole idea is the intention behind what you say.
Yeah.
So if you want to elevate a person, and you really need to know your person, like she knew that I can handle that.
Yeah. Good. All right. Well, we've got to go, because it's end of the show. Thank you, Annie, for being here. If anyone wants to find out more about Annie, send an email to studio@southernfm.com.au. It's news time now, and it's Monday Mash with Sam, who's in the next studio. Bye from me. Keep safe. Be happy. Do fun things. And love yourself. Bye for now.
Thank you for having me.
Pleasure.
Bye.
Bye.